Rich people of Reddit who married someone significantly poorer. What surprised you about their previous way of life? Long-term dating. Pets. I was always surprised by the number of pets she and her family had living in the trailer and how much of a share of their income they spent on them. Pets are comforting and easy to come by. Everything else in life can be with no real hope of improvement, but those pets love them without fail. It may not the wisest choice financially or in the best interests of the animal, but I can see why it happens. I wonder if there is a correlation between mental illness, animal hoarding, and poverty. Credit cards were avoided. For me growing up, we were encouraged to get a credit card in our name and use it as much as possible in order to build credit. There was always money to pay it off each month, so it made sense to 1. Build credit and 2. Collect airline miles or whatever the reward was back in the day. When we got together, she always used cash or a debit card. She had a credit card for emergencies and avoided using it otherwise. It took a long time to get her over her reversion skepticism. We were fortunate to have 2 good paying jobs, though it also taught me a healthy appreciation for what it means to have a financial cushion. I can answer this one. I did not grow up rich by any means, but I would say my family was upper middle class. My husband was born in Nicaragua and eventually moved to Texas, where his mother barely scraped by supporting him and his brother. Some of the things that surprised me. He never eats snacks. Ever. They didn't have food in their kitchen and he would go hungry sometimes. He said once they had an egg in the kitchen and he scrambled it and split it with his brother while his mom hungrily looked on. Now as an adult he doesn't understand snacking. If we eat a banana he thinks that is our next meal. He is very impressed with smaller things in life. He had one toy as a kid, truck, and now, anything I get him he thinks is the most amazing thing in the world. He saves everything. He is the hardest worker I know. He never wants to be where he was. He is the most grateful, optimistic person I know. We've been having some problems, family drama, trying to sell our house, work stuff etc. He is not afflicted by any of it. He is cool as a cucumber. He always says, "Did you eat today? Do you have a place to sleep? Does someone love you? Then you are better than most people." I really love him. He makes me see the world in a different, better way. I was with a girl for a while who grew up in a pretty broken home. Still surprises me just how bad her spending habits are. She racks up credit card debt like it's nothing. Same. Had an ex like that and she told me that she needed me to hold on to the money she earned because she would buy stupid shit with it. Her family also spent money stupidly. Her mom would spend every day sleeping until whenever, smoking about a pack a day, and drive about 5-7 miles round trip in a Ford pickup truck for her twice daily coffee milkshake from Starbucks. Eventually they had to file for bankruptcy and she was still dumb with money. She would literally shop at the convenience store for groceries, 2-pack toilet paper for $1, other random things for 3-4x the amount. I'm from the poorer family, not super poor, but my in-laws have a stupid amount of money, so by comparison I'm very poor, but I think I can answer for her. We have 2 young kids, and my wife was shocked when I said we should look for clothes and toys for them at local flea markets and garage sales. The idea never occurred to her that we could save money by getting some gently used items. She had never even been to a garage sale in her life. She has grown to love them and now questions whether it is worth it to buy any item new or not before running to Amazon or a store. Her parents think it's disgusting we make our kids wear clothes that another child had before, but they don't pay my bills. He was making good money but came from a poor family. One thing that surprised me was the lack of budgeting. No knowledge of a 401k Roth IRA. Retirement seemed like something that he'd never get to do. So even though he made good money he was starting to rack up credit card debt. Now he's much better at it than I am. He adores budgeting and looks forward to FIRE. Edit. FIRE is financial independence. Retire early. There's a sub attached to this idea r/financial independence. Sorry about the confusion. I came from a relatively wealthy family. Knew money. My dad started his own business and grew up poor. And my wife came from a lower income blue collar family. We got married out of college and neither made much money in the beginning. My biggest surprise was how she wanted to spend money. She was shocked when my mom bought her $100 plus pair of jeans for a birthday. She couldn't wrap her mind around spending that much on jeans. But she wanted a motorcycle, for me, which I don't ride in the first place. And then a new furniture set. And then a new bed. And then a new car. She wasn't concerned about savings or retirement, and she never wanted my parents' money for any of it. We are both way too proud of that. It took a long time for her to come around to having an emergency savings account, focusing on debt and not needing the other. She eventually realized that her parents wouldn't be in such a terrible situation because their spending habits are horrible. She still has it come out sometimes though. We recently paid off my car and she immediately thought I should get a new car. The prevailing mindset in his community growing up that insurance was something only rich people had. Not health insurance, mind you. Well, not just health insurance. Auto insurance. Going without it was a way of life for most everyone he knew. My so said today I made rent, meaning today I've earned enough, accumulated enough to pay the rent, and I realized that this is a monthly accomplishment to someone with no fixed income salary. My experience is from the opposite perspective. I was the poor one. It absolutely floored me how my wife acts when something broke, like a car, appliances, clothes, etc. As a child living below the poverty line, replacing a tire or other necessities was a disaster, requiring tricky trade-offs in the budget or just plain acceptance of just how boned you were. When my wife's phone broke, I went into full panic mode while she shrugged and said, "We can just a new one this afternoon." And then we did. This has been the biggest shock for me too, going from poverty to upper middle class career and marrying into an upper middle class family. This morning my husband called me to say that he thinks our water heater is going, so he's made an appointment to replace it since it's only $1K. I had a brief moment of panic and then remembered that's a tiny fraction of our savings, so it literally doesn't matter. $1,000 to me now is $100 was to me just 5 years ago when I graduated law school, and what $10 was to me 13 years ago as an undergraduate. The new water heater is literally as stressful as the $10 I'd spend going to Chipotle was in college. Surreal. Edit. To clarify, that's still a lot of money and not literally the same as buying a burrito. It just isn't that stressful in the grand scheme of things because we're double income, no kids. We budget money for home repair annually, and we live in a low-cost area. And I've been through a ton of therapy, so life doesn't stress me out as much in general these days. Shout out to professionals skilled in handling developmental trauma. I'm from an upper middle class American family and my husband is from a poor Southeast Asian family. It is hard for me to wrap my head around how poor they really were when he was growing up. He told me about eating only rice with sugar for meals because they couldn't afford meat. They were probably living off less than $0.50 per day for a family of 5 at times. I didn't marry this woman, but when we started dating, she always wanted to chill at my place, never hers. Which was fine. But she gained 35 pounds in just like a few months of dating. She was 100 pounds when we started dating. Not that it was a bad thing. 1. I am a chubby man, and 2. I was just glad she wasn't pregnant. Anyway, turns out her family couldn't afford dinner sometimes. So suddenly she had a place to eat every night and gorged herself. One of my exes could pull in a lot of money, easily twice or thrice what I could. He was so incredibly bad at saving this money. Down, say, setting himself up as a company to avoid paying high rate of tax, but then paying a large amount each month to an accounting company to handle his taxes, which he'd do himself anyway because he didn't trust them to get it right. He'd pay for taxes from one end of the city to another or hire cars rather than use public transport. Flights cancelled? Book new ones. Never bother to claim back on insurance. Buy a sports car, wreck it, sell it for scrap. He'd work contracts and then take time off to work on his own startup, but spend every weekend just going out and buying drugs and booze. I thought it was really fun and wild at first, haha. Money really means nothing to you, but when we became a long-term couple I started feeling like his mother. Man, will you not just fill out the insurance paperwork? Thanks for watching. Consider leaving a like and subscribe if you enjoyed.